A wave of public hysteria has gripped parts of New Jersey and New York this week, with the media reporting drones the size of cars in the night sky. Every major network has carried footage that alleges to show large drones with flashing lights moving across the sky and even hovering over houses. The FAA has responded by issuing flight restrictions in the affected areas, effectively grounding regular commercial and recreational drones. The FBI has also stated that it is investigating the reports. Numerous politicians are also calling for action whilst trying to assure the public that these mystery drones appear to pose no danger at this time. In this video, we'll take a look at the facts and a likely explanation. First, what are authorities doing about these drones? As mentioned, the FAA has imposed flight restrictions in the affected areas, but neither they nor local police nor other federal agencies have given any explanation as to who is operating these drones or what they are attempting to do with them. These drones remain a mystery despite the FAA having mandated the use of a technology called remote ID more than a year ago. This technology requires all operators of drones weighing more than 8.5 ounces to fit a small radio transmitter to their craft that constantly broadcasts identifying information and the location of the pilot. Here's how it's supposed to work.
The recreational hobbyists Bill and Anna spot the wing delivery drones while streaming video for Instagram Live, and curiosity drives them to check their remote ID interface to request identification. The remote ID interface provides Bill and Anna with limited, publicly available information that reassures them that the flight is authorized. Meanwhile, leaders at the Radford Army ammunition plant are increasingly concerned about monitoring and protecting against unauthorized UAS operations. The commanding officer at Radford spots the nearby TV station drone and submits a public safety request for identification using the ANRA broadcast remote ID, which allows her to confirm its legitimacy. Once the commanding officer at Radford receives the relevant information identifying the drones, she breathes a sigh of relief and takes her unit off elevated alert.
Clearly, the craft seen in the skies over New Jersey are flouting FAA regulations because no remote ID signals have been detected coming from them. With this in mind, and given the size of the craft, the frequency of their flights, and the growing level of public concern, the FAA should be focusing significant resource on identifying them and their operators. By way of comparison, a recreational Philadelphia drone flyer was fined almost $200,000 by the FAA and had all his drones seized for simply flying those much smaller craft at night in breach of FAA regulation.
With penalties adding up to nearly $200,000.
You look into a person, find out they have nothing, so let's throw the book at them. 182 grand, let's do it.
In a 15-page civil complaint, the federal government says since 2019, DeCurcio has broken several rules, flying at night in inclement weather, too close to buildings and people, and too close to the airport.
Given that the FAA can and do act when they feel fit, why is it that the craft in the skies over New Jersey are seemingly allowed to continue flying with impunity? The reality of the situation is that almost all of the sightings reported by the public and highlighted by the media are actually manned aircraft, including airliners and helicopters. This diagram of the lights fitted to all commercial passenger jets clearly matches perfectly with many of the sightings being broadcast by TV media and reported as drones. What we're seeing here is a mass hysteria being widely promoted by the media, who have totally failed to do any research or investigation into the matter, but instead seek simply to get eyeballs on web pages and videos so as to sell more advertising. For example, here is an animated map of commercial aircraft flights over the affected areas during the hours of darkness. These flights correlate exactly with many of the so-called drone sightings. Many of those reporting these drones also claim to have heard aircraft engines, further evidence to support this finding. The fact is that it can be extremely difficult to accurately judge distance and size when all you have to go on are some lights in the sky, but it appears most Americans have lost the ability for critical thinking, and the media is taking advantage of that. This is money for jam as far as the media is concerned, and their total lack of professionalism and effort is probably perfectly typified by this example from Fox News. They can neither spell nor even be bothered to use a spell checker, it seems. The FBI and local police cannot find these drones or their operators because almost without exception, those sightings are simply people misidentifying aircraft and helicopters in the skies over their heads. There are no drones, except for those being used by some police to try and track those lights in the sky, with no success. This also explains why no remote ID signals have been received, because there are no drones. This is not the first time people have misidentified lights in the sky, the incident at Gatwick Airport in 2018 being a perfect example. The most worrying aspect of this whole situation is that it appears nobody in government, or the growing number of federal agencies now involved, is smart enough to work out what's going on. But at least now you know the truth. This is who is really behind those lights in the sky.